If you are new to the game of golf and you are wondering what all these different clubs actually are, what is the driver, what is the putter, and what are they actually used for, then this episode is right for you.
Welcome to the Golf for Beginners podcast, your essential guide to mastering golf fundamentals. Whether you're a beginner golfer or a seasoned player looking to refine the basics, join us as we teach you everything about the fundamentals of swing technique, course management, equipment, rules, and how to practice. Today's host is none other than the award-winning PGA golf instructor Nikolaj Sæthe Engström, CEO of the biggest golf teaching business in Denmark and founder of Golf for Beginners Academy.
Hello and welcome to Golf for Beginners podcast. My name is Nikolaj Sæthe Engström and I'm going to be a golf instructor today. And today we're going to talk about golf equipment actually. This is the first episode where we're not going to talk about golf swing technique, but we're more going to talk about the different golf clubs that you would have in a golf set and why you have the different ones and what they are used for. Because I talk with a lot of beginners and usually one of the first questions after we've done some teaching is like, what about the golf set? Why do you need all these different clubs and what are they used for and all of this stuff? So that is exactly what I'm going to walk you through today. If we start completely basic here, a golf set, you can have a maximum of 14 clubs in a golf set, right? And most professionals, they will have 14 clubs, but as a beginner, you don't need 14 clubs, to be honest. You can be fine with 9 or 10 or something maximum. So you don't have to go straight for 14 clubs, just to clarify that. But professionals, they will used to have 14 clubs. And why do they have 14 clubs? Because that is a lot of golf clubs. And yeah, well, golf clubs are quite expensive as well. So why spend so much money on so many different ones? And of course, they have a lot of different purposes, all of these golf clubs. And we're gonna try and walk you through each one of them. Then we're gonna talk about also the purpose and if you would need one of these or not. But the main purpose of the different clubs is that you want a golf set where you can hit different distances. So, for example, a certain club might, if you hit it well, might go 150 meters. And then another club might go 140 meters, and then you have another one going 130, 120, 100, and then you want another one that's going 90 and 80. And that is basically how you build some of the golf set, that you want to be able to hit different distances with a normal golf swing. Because then you don't really have to change a lot. You just have to put on a normal golf swing, and then you can make the ball travel a certain distance that will fit the hole or the shot that you're facing out on the golf course. So it's a very simple way to you manipulate or change the distance that you hit the ball is just by changing equipment. So let's try and start from one end and let's try and start from the club that would hit the longest distance, and that will be the driver. And you've probably seen it on television or heard about it, but the driver, that is, it's the biggest club. It's the biggest club head. It's round and it's actually very light, and the shaft is also pretty long. It's a wonderful club. Just a little side note: you will need a tee to put the ball on when you're using the driver. If you're not a professional player, because they can do it without a tee, but most players, they will need a tee to put the ball on when they hit a driver. But the driver is usually what you use on the first shot on most holes, because the driver can hit the ball super far, and you want some distance on the first shot of every hole. And it's super nice. It's wonderful actually. People really love it because it has a very big club face, which means there's more area where you can hit the golf ball, and it's also, the new drivers are very forgiving. So it's, the manufacturers try to make it easier for you to hit the driver. So the driver is a really nice thing, and this is definitely on the must-have list for a beginner golf set, I would say. Definitely. So that's a driver. Of course, if you are standing on a par 3 hole, which would be a usually pretty short hole, and let's say the hole is only 110 meters, and you hit the driver normally 150, then you can't use the driver on those kind of holes. But all the other holes that are usually longer, par 4 holes and par 5 holes, driver would usually be the choice from the tee box. Then let's move on to the next one. We call them the Fairway-Woods. And the Fairway-Woods is, you can think of it as a mini driver basically, but with the purpose of hitting the ball far from when the ball is laying on the grass. Because I said that you needed a tee with the driver, but what do you do if you, let's say you hit a good drive out on a par 5 hole, you still have 300 meters left to the hole after you hit the first shot. So you just want a club that can hit the ball a long distance, but from the ground, because you can't put the ball on a tee again after you already did on the tee box. And this is where the Fairway-Woods come into the picture. And you can have Fairway-Woods with different angles on the face. So you can have a 3-wood, a 5-wood, a 7-wood, a 9-wood. Some even play with 9-woods, and they can be really nice actually, because they can hit the ball, they can transport the ball a solid distance without having to put the ball on a tee. Usually they're not the easiest to learn how to hit for beginners. So I wouldn't say that this is a must-have in the beginning. This is something you probably would add later on to your golf set, because we have also something else that kind of has the same purpose as the Fairway-Woods, but they're just a little bit easier to hit. And that would be the next point on the list, because that would be what we call the hybrids, or a hybrid club. And what is that? Well, a hybrid is kind of a hybrid version between, the Fairway-Wood and a normal iron. And we will get to the irons in a second. But the irons, they're not very big, and the Fairway-Woods they still have a certain size of club head. But if you combine those two, you get the hybrid, which is it's a small Fairway-Wood, if we can call it that. And the purpose is, as well as with the Fairway-Woods, the purpose is to transport the ball a long distance when you can't put the ball on a tee. So it's very good for transporting the ball a long way on par 4 and par 5 holes. And the thing about hybrids is that they came out 20 few years ago. And they have a shorter shaft than the Fairway-Woods, and they also have the smaller head, which is usually easier for people to hit the hybrids than it is to hit the Fairway-Woods. And that is why I said I wouldn't go for a Fairway-Wood in the beginning. I would probably go for a hybrid in your first golf set, as the transportation club for just wanting to hit the ball a long distance when you can't put it on a tee. And you can also get hybrids with different numbers. You could have a 4 hybrid, 5 hybrid, 3 hybrid, and so on, with different angles on the club face. But it's a good piece of equipment for getting some distance on your longer shots when you can't tee it up. And I would put this on the must-have list in your beginner golf set. Then we move on to the irons, and this is also a must-have. But you don't need all the irons, because the irons you usually have a lot of different numbers. Usually they range from, some people they have 3 irons, and then they have 4 iron, 5 iron, 6 iron, 7 iron, 8 iron, 9 iron, and then they also have a pitching wedge, where the 3 iron would be the one that can hit the ball the furthest, and then the 9 iron would hit the ball shorter, and the pitching wedge would be the shortest club of the irons. And when you're developed into a more solid golf player, you will need the different irons, because these gives you different distances, as we talked about in the beginning. But if you are a very new beginner, it could be a bit of an overkill to have so many irons. Honestly, you could be fine with a pitching wedge, let's just say 8 iron and a 6 iron. That'd be fine in the beginning, and then you can always add on more irons later on. But in the end, you will need all the different irons, because it gives you different distances. When you're trying to hit the green, let's say on a par 3 hole, and the par 3 hole is 110 meters, and your driver, you hit that 150, so you can't hit that one. Your hybrid maybe goes 130, so you can't hit that one either, because it's only 110 meters. And then you would need to find the iron that fits that distance. So maybe that would be your, 6 iron or something that that goes around 110 meters. And then there we go. Then you don't have to do anything different in your swing. You just take this certain club that gives you a certain distance. So that would be the irons. And just be aware that if you're looking for irons, you can get very different versions of club heads. You can get club heads that are very easy to hit and that are very forgiving. And you can also get some super thin club heads, usually called blade irons. And they are extremely difficult to hit, and I would never recommend them for any beginner golfers or basically any amateur player, because you need to hit the ball so well with blade irons in order to make them work. So I would always go for the most forgiving version of club heads if you are out looking for irons when you're a beginner. Then we move on to the what we call the wedges. So usually we call them, you could have a gap wedge or a sand wedge or a lob wedge. And the wedges, they are kind of, some of the purpose is kind of similar to the irons. You want some different distances. And the wedges will go shorter than the irons. So usually you would go from, let's say, 7 iron, 8 iron, 9 iron pitching wedge. And then after the pitching wedge, you will go to a what we call a gap wedge, which would usually be 50 or 52 degrees of loft. And then you would go to a sand wedge, which would usually be around 56 degrees. And then you could go to a lob wedge, which would usually be around 60 degrees. So these different degrees, they will give you different distances. And they are also very useful for the shorter shots around the green when we want to do the chipping. Also bunker shots. And the different wedges can then give you different heights on your chipping shots, so the ball can roll different distances and stuff like that. So a wedge is super nice to have, and more wedges is also nice to have as a beginning. I wouldn't think you need both a gap wedge and a sand wedge and a lob wedge. Maybe that's a bit of an overkill as well. It would be fine if you just had a sand wedge. And you can use that for all kind of different shots around the green. And then you can always add on different wedges later on. A little pointer here, it's actually pretty important because we talked about the irons and the club heads, they will have a certain shape. Wedges, they will have a different shape, or we need a wedge that has a different shape, because you can get irons where you can also get the sand wedge as the iron. So the shape of the club head would be the same on the sand wedge as it would on the 7 iron. And we usually don't recommend that. We would like to see the irons have one shape, but then your sand wedge will need to have a wedge-shaped club head, because they are designed to more for the chipping, the smaller shots around the green. While the iron club heads, they're more designed for distance and power. We need something with some feel and some touch in, and that's where the wedge club heads comes into the picture. So make sure when you get a sand wedge or something, or lob wedge or gap wedge, I would very much recommend that it's a wedge-shaped head, not the same shape as your irons. So that was the wedges, and then we only have one more thing to go. We have a putter. And what is the putter? Well, you probably try to play mini golf once or twice in your life, and you use a putter for mini golf. So this is for the shots where the ball is on the green, just rolling. And honestly, you don't need a fancy putter or anything. You can putt with whatever you have that is shaped as a putter. And you can get putters with big club heads, small club heads. You can get long shafted putters, short shafted putters with a big grip, a small grip, with lines, colors, all kind of stuff you can get. And what is the best? Well, that depends on who you are and what you like to use as a putter. So my best idea is to just go to a golf store and get to try a lot of them and see what you like standing with, what you like to look at, what you like to swing with, and then that's probably going to be a putter you're going to be very happy for. But you don't need a fancy putter, but you will need a putter, because a lot of the shots on a golf round is done with the putter. And there we go. That was actually it. That was the guide for different golf clubs in the bag. If we just do a little recap for the must-haves, if you are pretty new to the game, I would go for some kind of a driver. And yeah, they are pretty expensive, but it is worth investing in not a complete beginner driver, because the shafts can be a little bit shaky on those. So get maybe get a second-hand driver or something just to learn how to use it, and then you can always upgrade. But a driver is a must-have. Then we had Fairway-Woods. Those are not a must-have in the beginnings, but you can always add them later. We had a hybrid. A hybrid, for me, is a must-have for a beginner. Then we have some irons. You don't need all the irons in the beginning, but you could just do a few of them. That'll be fine in the beginning. Then we have wedges, and again, you don't need all the wedges, but just maybe a sand wedge. Then you're doing great. And then we need a putter, which is also a must-have, and the sand wedge was also a must-have. And there we go. Then we have built a nice golf set for a beginner golfer that you could play with for quite some time until you feel like it's time to upgrade your set. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can always jump over to golfforbeginners.academy. It's a big website where there is a bunch of articles and other free stuff, videos and all kind of stuff that can help you get started well on your golfing journey, because that is our main purpose, is to help you along and get started with this wonderful game. But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you want to listen in the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of the Golf for Beginners podcast. We hope you found valuable tips and inspiration to enhance your golf journey. Remember, whether you're a novice or a seasoned player, there's always room for improvement. For more in-depth resources, tutorials, and a supportive community, head over to our website at golfforbeginners.academy. There, you'll find a wealth of information to elevate your game. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your fellow golf enthusiasts. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and enjoy this lovely game.